Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Real PLC, a meeting that shouldn't be an email and you actually want to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, we don't do anything like halfway around here. We go all in. We go all in. It's all in, not all out. We're bringing top quality, top shelf entertainment for you and just phenomenal conversations. And today's guest.
We got another banger, folks.
It's another banger. It's another banger. How's that, Coach?
Yeah.
Hey, there we go. Hey, on-job training. But ladies and gentlemen, with us today in the studio, the chairman of the school board here in Troup County School System, Mr. Brandon Brooks. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. It's exciting to be here today and get in tune with some Cavalier media, man. It's exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule, man.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of moving and shaking going on. So
Absolutely, man.
We appreciate you.
Heck yeah. So, once again, we kind of talked about it before we went on air. This is just kind of a platform, and it was really kind of a little background on how we got here. Yeah. Last school year, we were trying to figure out what we want to do for our Black History Black History program.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tossed around the idea of a podcast. Now, I won't throw him under the bus anymore. But mention the idea of a podcast. I love Coach Williams. He knows that. I said, hey, let's do a podcast. He's like, no. And so we did like the town hall thing. We live streamed it. It's pretty cool. So this year, I'm like, hey, what are we going to do? I said, I want to do a podcast. Now, I will give him a compliment. He was like, I'm only going to do it if it's you. And I was like, all right, cool. So this is kind of morphed into just how ironic that the history teachers are sitting here telling stories, right?
That's great, man.
So once again, just kind of a chance for us to share, our human perspective, our human story, and kind of let people see that, outside of like our professional careers, at the end of the day, we're all human, and just kind of share that with the listeners of the Real PLC.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
So let's jump into it.
Okay.
What was your childhood like? Like, where are you from? Like, let's start with that. Where are you from?
So I was born in Columbus.
Okay.
Columbus, Georgia. My parents divorced when I was 6 years old. So I moved from Columbus to a little community in Alabama.
Okay.
And then what didn't stay there long, of course, anybody that's listening that comes from divorced families, that's a very transient, or can be, a very transient upbringing. So went from a little community in Alabama to literally downtown Atlanta. I say downtown. Oh, wow. You guys probably know it nowadays as Virginia Highlands, Inman Park. But anyway, we moved there, and then when I was 14, I moved back to Columbus with my dad. Okay. So again, very transient, but it's all good.
All right. So where were you at school? Where, like elementary school?
So elementary school started in Columbus.
Okay.
Then middle school was in Atlanta.
Okay.
Went to Inman Park Middle School. And then I went to Callaway High School in Columbus.
Gotcha. So you made your way back. Gotcha.
Yep.
So elementary school, like what was your favorite subject? Like what would you kind of find yourself getting into in elementary school?
I've always been, I know this sounds kind of wild, but I've always been a history math guy.
Okay.
I know that doesn't normally flow, but
usually math and science.
Yeah, right. But I was a history math guy. Okay. And I enjoyed that up until college. So again, I'm a super transparent guy. Okay.
Gotcha.
So I'm just going to lay it out there.
Please.
All right, cool.
Elementary, middle, and high school. I hated school. Okay, so it's kind of ironic that I'm on the school board.
Yeah.
And I joke with my fellow colleagues on the school board, like when we do star student or honor student or Val, Sal kind of people. Mm-hmm. I kid, and I've done this I'm in my 8th year now, 2nd term on the school board. Mm-hmm. I kid my other fellow board members because these are not the people I hung out with in high school. Okay, like I'm just being honest. Like I'm so impressed by these people and their dedication to learning. Because I was the complete opposite. Now, finish that caveat. When I got to college, my freshman year of college, it was a major change for me. And what I learned very quickly is Now, again, this is not generically, but just speaking from my personal experience. My professors, they didn't care about me. I was a number.
Yeah.
And if I did the work, fine. If I didn't do the work, fine. There was nothing to them. They just posted the grade, and you made either you passed or you failed.
Right.
They were going to get paid regardless.
That was the wake-up call for me.
Yeah.
Because I was in elementary, middle, and high, I couldn't. I mean, it was like they were constantly on you. Do this, got to be turned in here, got to be prepared, got to be studying, got to do this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But in college, it was like internally, bro, you better step up or you're gonna get kicked out.
Yeah.
So it was a major transition for me, best thing that ever happened to me. And from that point forward, from my freshman year of college, it was a wake-up call, and I did well throughout college.
Where'd you go to college?
So I started at Southern Union.
Okay.
Went to Auburn, and then I finished my senior year. I finished at Columbus State.
Okay. Heck yeah.
So it was a journey.
Oh,
But it
yeah.
was, man, I had some incredible professors, teachers, counselors, just really, really good people. And those are the people, in all honesty, it wasn't elementary, middle, or high that kind of formed me into the student and the love of reading that I have now.
Yeah.
It was college, man.
Yeah.
That was the game changer for me.
Heck yeah.
So young Brandon Brooks did not really enjoy school. It's just something you did. What intrigued you? What had your attention in your time?
So I grew up in a household with mom leading up, because when I was 14, I moved to Columbus with Dad. But as an elementary, middle school kid, my mom was, of course, a single mom raising an only child in Brandon. And she went to law school. And again, you got to think that was, I know this is a long time ago, but late 70s, women were not considered, I got to be careful here, but my mom came from a little country town in Alabama.
Yeah.
Women did not go and succeed in the business world or otherwise.
That's just history.
Yeah, that's just historical.
So she worked her way through law school, did very well, and then ended up in Fulton County working for a state court judge. She was his chief law clerk. And from that point, as a young kid, because at that time in Fulton County, and I think it's still this way, those judgeships were elected positions. So I was involved in politics as a young kid. This is kind of strange as well, but like I hung out with adults.
Yep.
Like I went to dinners. We would go to the Braves game back in the day and sit in the commissioner seats. And look, man, I didn't come from wealth. I didn't come from influence or money. Like I was one of those kids where me and mom would go into a dinner, let's say, and mom would just grab me like, you gonna act right. Like you may not know what fork to grab, but you gonna grab one and you gonna act like you know what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
You're gonna use your manners, because all of these people are influencers, they're politicians, they're in leadership. So again, my childhood was completely different than most, and it was just one of those childhoods where I look back now and I'm like, wow, man, this was awesome.
Yeah.
But then
That is cool.
It was like, oh, we got to go to another fundraiser for some judge and, sit with a bunch of old people and eat food I don't even want to eat. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, it was a great childhood. Moving to high school when I was 14, I decided to live with Dad and moved to Columbus and started high school at Hardaway. Didn't know anybody,
Like fresh start.
like nobody. Yeah. And of course, I come from downtown Atlanta to, I kid now, it seemed like podunk Columbus, Georgia, with a bunch of hillbillies. And, I mean, it's funny because I was, and this is kind of silly too, but had already drank like the latest drink of like cherry, I'm making this up, but cherry 7-Up. Columbus didn't even know anything about cherry
no.
7-Up.
Yeah,
So
behind.
I'm walking around. These people are just catching up on the styles and the fads of the day, and I had already done that. So
You're on to the next thing.
Right.
yeah, man. And it wasn't that I thought I was better, but it was like I'm in a different world
Yeah.
here. Like I'm in a completely different culture.
Yep.
So it was an interesting childhood, and but I look back now and I believe that that's what the Lord was doing with me to prepare me
Yep.
for that next step, and didn't even realize it.
Wow.
Big time. So does 14-year-old Brandon decide to, I just want to kind of slow it down. I'm tired of bumping elbows with these politicians. Let me go back, stay with Dad. How does that work? What's your decision-making process, if you mind speaking on it?
Yeah, so super personal, but totally okay, and I'm transparent enough to share it. So with Mom was in the groove. She was succeeding. She was working on her career. And to be honest, I just wanted a family. My dad had remarried at that time. And I had a stepbrother and a stepsister in that marriage. And I just wanted to go with a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to go eat dinner
And not have to worry
in the
about
evening
bumping elbows with somebody.
and not have to try to impress somebody that I didn't know and,
Yeah.
in all honesty, didn't really care. Now, I got to be careful. I did care, okay? So it's not like I
but
was
as a
completely
kid-
rebellious.
Yeah.
But, man, I just wanted that family.
Kind of like normalcy.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't want to say
it
normalcy.
was normal then.
Yeah.
It's definitely not normal
Yeah.
now, but I wanted that stability.
Yeah.
Better word.
I like, yeah.
So that's what I did, man. And it was huge, bro. It was a big decision. I mean, leaving, because I'm an only child. And, telling your mom that you want to go live with Dad,
I can't imagine.
bro, that was like huge.
I
And
can't imagine.
at that point in my life, at 13, that's when it started, making that decision at 14. That was the biggest decision I had made up to that point.
Yeah.
And being able to talk to Mom to say, Mom, it's funny now, but as a 14-year-old kid, Mom, I think this is better for me. Well, okay, like, you know how much sense that makes now?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
bro, you ain't got sense enough to get out of the rain, but you want to determine where you want to live, okay? So, anyway, at 14, I moved with Dad and went to Callaway High School, wrestled.
I was about to ask you, what sports and activities were you getting into?
Yeah, man. So I'd done soccer, football, wrestling in middle school, and then when I went to high school, I got really involved in ROTC.
Okay.
Game changer, by the way. Game changer for me as far as interpersonal skills, communication skills, developing a regime of every day. Back then, we would wear a uniform on Friday,
Yep.
prepping that uniform. I mean, it just really helped me to structure my day and my life around sports and, of course, ROTC.
Heck yeah. Yo. So I'm going to kind of backtrack for a second. When you were like in elementary school and middle school, what did you want to be when you grew up?
An attorney.
An attorney.
Absolutely.
Well,
I knew
makes sense.
that.
That was
You-
confidence.
I was about to say, like, well, I mean, you saw your mom work
Yeah.
through law school. And
Yeah, so
okay.
kind of the backstory to that, I've always wanted to be an attorney because living with Mom, I grew up in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we didn't have school, I went to work with Mom.
Yeah.
And I sat in the courtroom all day and I listened to just various cases. It could be DUI, it could be drug charges, it could be child custody. I mean, just
You were hearing it all.
that full gamut of what a state court judge would hear. And man, I was this sounds terrible, but bro, I was fascinated at these criminal defense attorneys that would stand up in front of a judge and or a jury, depending on the type of case. And they were making this dude that was selling dope out of the trunk of his car, they were making this dude seem like Mother Teresa.
Yo.
They were like I was so impressed as a kid with their ability to articulate a narrative. Now, was the narrative true? Probably not.
Probably not.
Okay, let's just be real.
Yeah.
But I was fascinated at the ability of these men and women, very few women at that point, who could articulate in front of a group and build a case for somebody in their defense.
Jeez.
Fascinating. That's why I wanted to be an attorney.
Gotcha. I was about to say that's the quickest answer we've gotten. Like, when you grew up, what'd you want to be?
Yeah, it was an attorney all the way through.
All right, man.
Awesome.
So, get to high school. You know, ROTC big for you, playing the sports. When you reached graduation day, did you have a plan? Like, did you know? Because you said you went to Southern Union. Mm-hmm. Did you know that that's where you're going, or were you just kind of freelancing? Like, we're gonna see what happens.
Okay, so you got to understand, I was an absolute heathen. Okay.
Okay.
I was completely rebellious. I didn't like any authority.
Gotcha. But yet you did ROTC.
I did.
Yeah.
That's like
Didn't
authority
like
to the
it.
man.
I didn't like that authority element.
Okay.
Now, I'm talking about internal Brandon
Yeah.
Brooks.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. A lot of us and you guys as teachers and understand there is a persona that a lot of kids try to portray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that may not be who they are internally.
Yeah.
Okay. I portrayed a good kid. I'm just telling you, internally, I was a hot mess.
Gotcha.
I didn't know what was up and down and which direction was next.
Gotcha.
So when I went to college, and you got to understand, again, a different generation, my mother and my father, that was not even up for discussion.
Yeah.
You're going to school.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay? Completely different world we live in now.
Yeah.
There's so many options, and quite honestly, people can come out of high school now making as much money, if not more, than most people that come out of college with a 4-year degree.
Yes.
Okay, so again, you got to understand contextually, time frame, that culture, that life was different than what the world is now.
Yep.
I didn't have an option. I was going to college, whether I liked it or not.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I wasn't really excited about it. I was ready to go make some money. But you go into school, so that's what I did.
So you said you were ready to go make some money. What were you going to do to make some money if it had not been college?
Anything and everything I could do because I've never been afraid of work.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I didn't care. I mean, if that's digging ditches, if that's
You're going to be the best you can be.
carrying something, if that's, just whatever, I was willing to do anything because I really liked making money.
Yeah.
The education side, remember, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be outside. I wanted to work with my hands. I wanted to do that. And, again, that was the internal struggle because I'll never forget what my mom says, son, work with your brain, not with your back. Now, that was me, okay?
Yeah.
But in all honesty, we can, like kids now, can leave high school, work with your back, and make more money, possibly, than people that are working with their brain.
This is true.
Okay, so again,
This is true.
different culture. It all depends on your background and the influences in your life at the time.
Yeah.
That's why I never, if a kid wants to go be a plumber, bro, we need some plumbers.
Yes, Lord.
Okay? All right?
Yes, Lord.
Okay? We need good attorneys.
Yeah.
But again, completely different culture, different time frame.
Yeah.
So I was going to school whether I liked it or not.
I've always wondered, so like on the education side, I've heard my mom talk about it, and like you used to have like tech prep and college prep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so like I've always wondered like when that would like kind of make it like a resurgence of when do you start seeing my earphones are being weird.
Yeah, mine too.
Being weird.
It's
like
a
a
cable or
buzzing,
something.
maybe?
We'll figure out what it is.
We're gonna figure that out because that's annoying right there.
It's like the high pitch.
Yeah. Whoop, I did something.
No, maybe this.
Oh, we've learned something. Well, look
Wow.
at that. All those times. I'm not going to lie. The amount of times I've sat here and I kind of dealt with that.
Yeah.
Bro, it's Google just listening to everything we're saying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
Don't worry.
it's cool.
Hey, it'll be all over your Facebook feed.
Yeah.
Like
That's
keeping up with your stories.
Yeah,
but
I'm telling the whole world my whole life.
So, yeah, yep. Good luck. Have fun.
Right.
Can't wait to see what your Facebook feed is gonna look like later. But so I've always wondered, like, when do we see the resurgence of college prep and like vocational tech or like tech
now.
prep? Like
It's now.
like it's the perfect moment for it.
It's back already. It's
God,
here.
I mean, because like I've seen it, but like the STEAM and STEM and all
Yep.
that. Like,
Yep.
I mean, when's the last time you saw a locksmith?
Right.
Because everything's like electric.
Right.
But like, what happened? Like, how many keys we got on a
Right.
regular basis?
Right.
Like, man, like or like brick mason,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. Like you said, kids can come out of high school now making just as much. I tell kids straight up, like, you can come out of high school if you game it right, and you can make more than I make.
Oh yeah,
And the kids are like, no, and I'm like, yo, like, you can go to West Georgia Tech, get your RN,
Yep.
graduate in 2.5 years, and you're making way more money than Coach Reed could ever think about making in a school year. And they're like, for real? Yeah, and I'm going to save you half the price if you go to LaGrange College or West Georgia or any, like, around the area,
Right.
and you go into their 4 or 5 year RN program. But, like, hearing you say that about, like, working with your back or working with your brain, not your back, and how today it has changed. Like, I don't know if as many kids hear that. I'm sure they do, but, like, are we, like, saying, like, hey, look, there's more than just going to school to be successful. Like, you can go out and work with your hands. And
Most definitely.
so, yeah, when you said work with your brain and not your back, and how we're kind of in this spot of like you can work with your back and make some money too. It just made me think of that. So
Yeah. Well, I think it's completely contingent on the parental support and the influence that you have at home.
that's huge.
Okay, because depending on what that looks like will depend on what direction that you are being steered toward. If your family's struggling, if you don't have money, guess what? After high school, bro, sis, you go into work.
Yeah, go make that money.
Because we got to make some money up in here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
you
Gotta
do
keep
like
going.
to eat, right?
Yep.
Okay. If you want to eat, go to work.
Yep.
So it's totally dependent on the influence. That's why, and again, I don't want to skip ahead.
No.
But
You're
but
fine.
that's why it's so important in Troup County school system.
Yep.
There's a place for every kid.
Yep.
That every kid is that kid going to college and that kid that just wants to go to
Yep.
work laying brick,
Yep.
or that kid that wants to open up their own business and be an entrepreneur of doing some yard work
Yeah.
or building a business and that kind of sphere.
Yeah.
So
Right.
again, man, place for every kid.
I was telling somebody, and I'm pretty sure I stole this saying from somebody, and I preach this in my classroom. It's like when you walk across that stage on graduation day, are you ready to employ, enlist, or enroll? Because you think about it, when you get the diploma, you're doing
good.
one of those three things.
Yeah.
Like the world needs 9-to-5ers.
It's good.
It does. Mm-hmm. So that's the employ. You either I've seen the recruiters on our campus left and right
All the time.
and the world's a different place.
Right.
Enlist, hey, they'll pay for your school too.
Most definitely.
And then the enroll, like you're gonna have your academics, you're gonna have your ones that have to go get that certificate or something. That's still school.
Right.
But you cover literally every aspect of what they're gonna do if they're prepared for that. And so, yeah, the time is now. I do like that.
It's here, man.
I like
it's
that.
here. With STEM,
glad you said
and, STEM and STEAM, whether it's the state legislature, up in Atlanta, the bills that are being passed, or the local policies that are being pushed through curriculum and instruction.
Yeah.
That ability for kids to connect with their hands
Yes.
is way bigger than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And what we try to do here in Troup County is afford those possibilities and exposure to every child.
Yeah.
Is it going to click for all of them? No, but it's there.
Yeah.
We give you an opportunity to experience.
That's how I
Heck yeah.
feel about CTAE as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I get so excited just walking down this hallway.
Yep.
It's a hallway of opportunity is what
Yeah,
I
man.
tell
Yep.
kids, man.
Exactly.
Go find something.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do over here, and
That's
there's a
right.
lot to gain from it. And I think a lot of kids that I've talked to since I've been here
Yeah.
have definitely honed in on it.
Heck yeah. But we've even been talking since we started the podcast. Like, we never realized how many people it takes to make a production operate.
Right.
Like, granted, in here, like we have a device that will record it on an SD card, and you're like, okay, that's fine. but like the students, like, and like Miss Graham, like when she goes through it, and then she sits down with a student and the student edits, and so like the video that you see on YouTube, like when it gets posted on YouTube, like that's all out of like this studio.
Yep.
And then like the Cavs 10 production, like the amount of people that literally sit in that little room right over there and write the script, and they produce and switch the camera here.
Go get the interviews.
Dude, it's insane.
I love seeing the kids go do interviews, man, because I'm like, they're working.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're working.
So back to your story, because look, you get two educators talking about educate. Like, hey, we'll solve all the world's problems, and it'll be on a Google Doc.
No doubt.
So you go to college. What are you studying?
So I'm a pre-law
Okay.
political science major.
So still on the attorney track.
Yeah. So I started out as a history major, but then it morphed into pre-law political science.
Okay. Now, so when you finish up at Columbus State, you said Southern Union, Auburn.
Yep.
And then Columbus State.
Columbus State.
What are you still on the same track at Columbus State?
Yes. So the goal was, when I graduated, to go to law school.
Yeah.
And this was the vision in college. Okay. Now, it changed, but I'm going to share it. So I was in college, pre-law, political science. The goal was I was going to pass the bar, go to law school, pass the bar. I was going to practice law for a few years, and then I was going to run for political office.
Gotcha.
That was the plan.
Yeah, that youth influence is hitting you hard.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's wild.
Now, it changed.
Yeah.
But that was the plan throughout school.
Okay. Cool. So when you say it changed, if you don't mind me asking, like, what was the change?
So it changed my senior year of college.
Okay.
So my senior year of college, I began working with kids in a local church. Changed everything. Changed every element of my life.
Literally.
Yeah.
It was working with kids in a church. So my senior year, actually it was my junior year, I started working, just dabbling and helping out. Still very much plugged into politics, but then that morphed into what politics was doing or how it was affecting our local church. So I just started digging into that and how the Constitution affects, and again, we can chase this rabbit. Don't, because we'll be here a while. But it was that big variation between church and state.
Yeah.
I really delved into that thought. Yeah. How does it really affect church and state? What goes into the other? What can go in? And ultimately studying, preparing, and keeping that local church that I was involved in, keeping them abreast of what was going on under the Gold Dome in Atlanta and what was going on up in Washington.
Yeah.
So tracking laws, tracking court cases, tracking Supreme Court cases, and how these things were affecting the local body of believers as compared to the body politic throughout the nation.
Gotcha. Whoa.
That is big time.
Yo, so
Mr. Brooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's big.
Yo.
So anyway, with all that being said, the Lord changed me, and I always wanted to be successful. I always wanted to have influence. Yeah. And again, just going spiritual, because it is what it is.
Hey,
what I found was my influence was what God was doing through me with kids.
Yeah.
I wanted to have influence. God showed me an influence like I've never even read about. And that was influencing kids, very much like you guys influencing kids by being teachers.
Yeah. Yo. That's what we like to call around here just audio gold.
Well, I'll tell you,
That's
if you want to be an
man.
influencer, and we talk about influence on social media.
Yeah.
You want to be a true influencer, be a teacher. Because I promise you, you may get a little internal warm and fuzzy on those 30 likes on social media. Have 30 or 25 kids in a classroom. Influence those 25. I promise you, those 25 kids will bring more influence into the world than somebody just hitting the screen, liking your post.
Well, it's the ripple effect.
No doubt.
If you throw that rock in the pond and it ripples.
It's gonna go.
I know we're chasing rabbits here.
No, you were. Look, I don't think there's any such thing on the real PLC as chasing rabbits, because it's your story and it's your humanity, and so it's the beautiful thing about this platform is it's going to reach someone. The right someone's going to get it.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man.
How do we go from graduating Columbia State? No, how do we get to LaGrange?
Okay.
How do we get to
Great question.
Yeah.
So I finished up Columbia State. I moved to LaGrange specifically because, remember, I'd lived in Atlanta as a kid.
Yeah.
I knew I did not want to live in Atlanta. Okay. So we moved.
Throw a dart at the map.
Well, no, it was it was strategic. My goal was to go to Emory Law School, okay, downtown, but I knew I didn't want to live in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I moved to LaGrange. It was an easy commute. Just jump on 85. That literally is how I got to LaGrange. Now, there was a local church that I got involved with from some other folks that invited me.
Yeah.
And I got involved with that local church and literally changed the trajectory of my future.
Jeez. So, man, you talking about so you go from law attorney, just getting after it with the legislation, and all of a sudden it's just the one is just working at the church with the kids, and to change the entire trajectory of your life.
Yeah, man.
Yo.
Now, of course, there's some elements, to that. And I believe it was, the Lord refereeing my life.
Yeah.
As far as being that umpire, being that judge, being that omnipotent being that He is.
Yeah.
If you keep Him first place, He'll direct your paths.
Yeah.
You may not always understand it.
Yep.
But if you keep Him first,
Yep.
He'll direct your paths. And He did, man. He did. It was just a couple of months later. I was working with kids, and the pastor of the church at the time approached me about, coming on staff to be like an assistant youth pastor or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a made up job, whatever. And man, I mean, there was very little hesitation. Yeah, I'm in.
Heck,
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I had no idea
Yo.
the brevity of what He was asking me to do.
Yeah.
But in my ignorance, and Brandon's ignorance, and God's omnipotence,
Yep.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's roll.
I tell you, when you showed up on my doorstep, we could tell you were all in. My dad didn't really, let us move and shake with any and everybody.
Yeah.
And you pulled up in that van, you talked to him about it. I don't know what y'all said to each other, but I was like, it sounds cool. Let's
No,
go.
I remember it like it's crazy because, of the thousands of kids. I remember that. I remember, again, in my ignorance, just knocking on doors, trying to I didn't know if there would be kids in there or not.
Yeah.
I was just knocking on doors. And
We're going to find out.
this is kind of weird now because you would think I'd be some kind of perv if I did that today.
no.
But hey, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, you got any kids?
You want to send them to church?
I mean, dude, can you imagine me doing that now?
Yeah.
That'd be like, no, I don't, and please get off my front porch.
Right.
But
Channel 2's here.
yeah, right. But back then, I just was trying to get as many kids as possible.
Yeah.
And
But you kept
hell,
it first, though.
yeah,
So
man.
we led you right.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in involved with the church?
30 years.
30 years.
So that was in the mid 90s because I graduated from college in 95.
Okay.
So that was 93, 94-ish, my senior year of school. And then been doing it for 30 years, man.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So what all positions have you held in? Like, if you don't mind me asking, like, what all positions have you held in the church?
Janitor. That is the most important job in the church, by the way.
Man,
Yes.
gotta keep that thing.
You don't realize how big a church is till you start pushing a vacuum in a church.
Yeah.
So
a lot of open space.
So like growing up, the church that me and my sister went to, mom would go up and vacuum, and you're like, oh, the church, whatever, and then like you start pushing that vacuum around.
Hey man, check this out. Great story. And I know we got to go quick,
Hey,
but check it out. So I'm hired on staff at this church. At that time, we were running probably 300, something like that. It's a pretty big church at that time, what I thought, because I didn't grow up in church. I didn't know. I mean, we went to church on Easter and Christmas, and that was only because Grandma was pinching my ear, making us go, right? So anyway, I get to be on staff, part-time, whatever that job description was, and I'm there, and I'm thinking, like, this is great because I'm going to get some serious like time. I mean, I'm thinking of like some monk in some monastery or something. Like, I'm really going to get to dive into the Word and learn like some cool stuff in the Bible. So I got like a little corner of an office, and I got a little desk there, and I'm like studying. I got all these books out, and again, it's my first week on the job.
Yeah.
The lead pastor comes in and says, "Hey, Brandon, we got a stopped up toilet on the second floor of the Sunday school building. Need you to go fix that toilet." Okay, now let me take you back. My mom was the mom, and my dad was a dad that said, "Work with your brain, not your back."
Yeah.
Bro, I don't know nothing about no toilet. And I dang sure don't know nothing about no plumbing. And this dude, total respect, says, "Go fix the toilet." Okay. Now, we didn't have YouTube back then. Okay. So I go in there. It's nasty, bro. Like, it's a hot mess. And here I am looking at this thing like a calf looking at a new gate going, okay, what am I supposed to do now? Are you with me?
Yeah.
The lead pastor thought it was hilarious because he knew my background. He knew where I came from. Long story short, I fixed that toilet. Had to take the thing off. Had to put another one on there. Had to put the guts in the toilet.
Oh my God.
I mean, like, I'm such a nerd, but I'm like reading this book to install a toilet. Okay.
Golly.
All right. And I'm sitting there doing this going, I thought I was going to be like a preacher. Like, I thought, I was going to be like somebody.
Yeah.
But yet, check this out now. Changing that toilet,
Yeah.
I was somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it had to be done.
Had to be done.
And later on, that lead pastor said, I did those things on purpose. Because you need to know not just what I know now is the macro 30,000-foot view of ministry. You need to know how to get your hands dirty.
Yep.
You need to know how to meet people where they are, wherever they are. Man, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. Shoot.
I was sitting here and I was about to say, that'll preach. Nah, it will, though. That'll preach. Yeah. Ironically, I'm talking to the preacher about it.
Well, but it's important because a lot of our generation now, they think that life is easy. You clock in at 10, you go home at 4.
Yeah.
That you don't have to really sweat. And sweat equity is a phrase that is not used anymore. And work, and I'm using an Auburn phrase, work, hard work.
Yep.
Okay? We got to get back to that.
Yes.
Because it's all about discipline and showing up. I tell my buddies, and especially young men that go into the construction type fields, I tell them all, I don't know one, and I mean this now, I do not know one person that knows what they're doing and shows up on time in the construction field that does not make money. Not one. If you know what you're doing and you show up, I do not know one person and I know a bunch of folks in that field, but not one of them that knows what they're doing, shows up, doesn't make money.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about good money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. We always building stuff. We're always working on stuff.
You have to.
Yo.
Revamp.
Y'all might want to write that one down. Rewind and write that one down. Yo, that's good. So I'm going to get to what I feel is a big question. Mm-hmm. Why the school board? So like you're killing it in the like from like the church perspective. What makes you go, I want to get into the political arena of education?
So I'm in my 8th year now. So about 10 years ago. So my wife and I have 5 kids together.
Okay.
All of them have come through the Callaway district, Callaway High School.
Yep.
Okay. All are graduates of Callaway. About 10 years ago, and I've always kept my feet wet in the political realm. Mm-hmm. But not that I was involved, but I looked at it, I watched it, I tracked it, I paid attention to who were our representatives, what was on the ballot, what we were going to vote on. I've always been just interested in that. About 10 years ago, I was, of course, tracking, and I saw that Troup County, the data across the board was in a downward trajectory.
Gotcha.
I was bothered by that because I'm all about some Troup County.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And definitely all about some Callaway.
Yeah.
I was bothered by that, and just so happened the school board representative from the district that I live in, which is District 3, primarily Callaway North.
Gotcha.
Again, it kind of varies, but for the general purposes, Callaway High School North. She was retiring, and she was our school board representative. And after some long conversations with some really close friends, and one of them primarily being Pete Wiggins, I threw my name in the hat.
Heck yeah.
And been doing it ever since.
The rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is literally history, man.
It's been a wild ride, but I'm definitely I will finish out this year. I've chosen not to run for re-election, so I'll finish out this year. But I can definitely tell you without a shadow of a doubt, Troup County is better than I found it.
Yeah,
that's man.
Oh,
we appreciate that.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah. Most definitely. I feel that's another lesson that doesn't get taught a lot anymore. Is leave it better than you found it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything you do, leave it better than you found it.
Yeah, man. I mean, why do
it?
Yeah.
So will you talk to us about, because we know you were the voice of the cast for a while.
Yep.
What got you on that path?
So be more specific.
So you were the voice of the cast for the football team.
Yeah,
for a while.
for sure. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
How did that come about?
Yeah.
There's a story.
Pete Wiggins and Dusty Hubbard. They're like, man, hey, will you call this baseball game? I don't want to. I can't do that. Man, I started doing it, and it was so fun, man.
Oh, yeah.
We had a ball. And, and look, I'm one of those parents that, like, you don't want to be sitting around me during a game because I'm probably one of those that you're like, we probably need to slide down a little bit because I get fired up, right? Like, I love competition. And Callaway, man, I just love it. So I get fired up, and I've always enjoyed that element of media. Yeah. I'm kind of a media nerd, but calling games and stuff like that, I just love it. So I dove in, man, started having a great time, and I ended up being the voice for Callaway baseball for a few years, and then Callaway football, and then also Callaway soccer. It was fun, man. I just had a ball.
Oh, that's wild. So we got a few little fun questions.
Okay.
So they're kind of like time machine questions.
All right.
So you get a time machine, and you can go back in time. You get to spend a day with anybody, past, present, who would it be and why?
If I could spend a day with anybody.
With anybody.
Right now? Like today?
Yeah, like if you got to choose right now.
Yeah.
Who would it be and why?
This is weird, but there's a guy by the name of Jordan Peterson.
I know. I've heard Jordan Peterson stuff.
Okay, you know Jordan Peterson?
He's a clinical psychologist.
He's a clinical.
I'm sorry.
He's a clinical psychologist from Canada.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this dude.
Oh yeah.
Now I don't agree with everything.
Yep.
He's got going on, but I'm fascinated by this guy. I wouldn't even need a day. Let's just grab a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
maybe two,
Yeah.
because he's got a lot to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinated by the way he perceives life and how life has morphed us into where we are currently in our current culture, society, and all parts in between. If I had an opportunity to spend a day with somebody, probably it would be Abe Lincoln. So I'm a big-time Founding Fathers, constitutional American history buff.
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln, in my opinion, was probably more influential in his actions and there's so many, man. But Abe Lincoln dealt with so much in just his few short years of being in leadership. Now, it took him a while to get there.
Yeah.
He lost more than he won.
Oh, no doubt.
Okay, so, but the things that were put on him after he got into office and the way he handled it. So I'm just going to real quick.
No, you're fine.
Second inaugural address for Abraham Lincoln. Of course, he had already won the first election. This is his second election. We're in basically the end of the Civil War. Mm-hmm. He comes in his second inaugural address. It's actually, just useless fact, the shortest inaugural address ever presented.
Yep.
But basically, and I'm summarizing, he says, I could stand up here and talk a long time about the accolades and what we have accomplished and what the Civil War has come to and the issues that we've dealt with and all of things that have gone on in our country as we have fought this battle between the states. I'm not going to do that.
Yep.
And what he ended up doing in a few short sentences, he was speaking to the North and the South. Now, please understand, it's coming to an end, very divisive.
Yep.
Just because there is a winner, people are not happy.
Yep.
And check this out, man. This is so great. What Abraham Lincoln does in that moment is he basically says to the United States that were then the United States, mm-hmm. This is not just the Confederacy's fault. Mm-hmm. This is not just the Northerners' fault. It is our fault together.
Yep.
The anger that the Northerners have toward Southerners and the anger that the Southerners have toward the Northerners, we are all equally wrong. Mm-hmm. We have to come together to make this, and I'm parsing here, but make this a better union.
Yep.
In our current culture, man, we're so divided and we're so mad, and everybody's like so angry about everything. We have lost the ability to communicate and debate issues. You know, Coach, me and you can disagree on something, but we can agree to disagree.
Easy.
And we can still be friends.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
That's a lost art today.
It is.
People don't talk anymore.
No, which is why I love this right here. We can have a civilized conversation, and at the end of the day, like you said, we might not agree on everything,
right?
But I'm going to respect you for your opinion.
Absolutely,
mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then fast forward, you had a Republican president in Ronald Reagan, and you had a House Speaker. His name was Tip O'Neill. But what you talk about disagreeing policy-wise, those guys were complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but they discussed, they communicated, they worked together for a better union. I think we need to take some lessons from those guys that have gone before us, because it doesn't matter how bad things are. Hey, man, let's just sit down and talk about it.
Me and Coach, we're sitting in here last week.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking. It was last week.
It was last
I had to think about it. We were sitting here last week talking, and we kind of boiled it down to we don't have a talking problem. We have a listening problem. We listen to answer, not to understand.
Absolutely.
And if we just listen to understand, like 99% of the problems that we have, poof, disappear. Yeah. Just because it's like we said at the beginning, when you have a platform to share your story, you have no choice but to understand that person. Mm-hmm. And once you understand that person, now you can meet them where they're at. Like you said, you meet them where they're at, and okay, this is where we're at. This is why we think this way. This is how we operate this way, and we move from there. Mm-hmm. Not always going to like it. Not always going to agree with it. But when I understand where you're at, I can respect you for it.
Totally.
And now we can keep moving.
And I will say that as far as the school board and my experience with the school board. In 2016 was the election.
Yeah.
I will tell you the first part of it. So that was in May of 2016,
yeah.
The first election. I will tell you, not to my credit, but to my demise, I thought before I was elected that I had a lot of the answers to public education and solving a lot of those issues. Yeah. It was not until I got on the Board of Education and have experienced that learning curve that I realize how ill-equipped I am to provide those answers.
Gotcha.
Let me just give you an example, and it'll be quick. But
you're fine.
I had no idea of the level of poverty that some of our kids in Troup County deal with. And I will tell you, I think there's a community out there. They have no idea of some of the poverty that our kids are dealing with.
Yeah.
I mean, completely clueless. And it's nothing against them. It's just
they just don't know.
They don't know. So they don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
And it was not until I started going to things and reading and learning and being involved in that sphere.
Yep.
That's just one element, man.
Yeah.
But that's one element of a huge learning curve that Brandon Brooks had to deal with.
Yeah.
Case in point. Anytime my kids had their school had a PTO meeting or an open house or whatever, I mean, make it up, meet the teacher, okay, whatever. Man, like it's a dumb question to ask if I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I'm going to be there. Like, I'm going to meet you.
Yep.
I'm going to shake your hand. I'm going to get to know you because you're my child's teacher.
Yeah.
You know, man, if you think about, let's say, an adult that dropped out of high school, maybe they didn't do so well in school.
Yeah.
Maybe that was not a warm and fuzzy, their education experience.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a wake-up call for me to realize that, you know, that parent that we've been trying to get them to go to this PTO meeting or this meet the teacher or get on Infinite Campus and learn what your kid is doing.
Yep.
Can I tell you, that's the last thing they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not warm and fuzzy. It's not positive. It's not something, especially if they didn't graduate, if they dropped out. Coming to the school is the last place they want to come.
Yeah.
That's our priority.
So again, it's the learning curve.
Yeah.
And it's hearing.
Yep.
It's listening. It's learning other points of view and perspectives that are not yours.
Yeah.
But you learn from it.
Yeah.
And it's just been a great learning experience.
I'll be honest. So we had Dr. Shoemate on not that long ago, and I looked at him point blank, and I was like, I do not envy you at all. Like, to make some of the decisions he has to make, I do not envy. Yeah. And I'll be honest, being on the school board, thank you for you doing it. I don't think I could do it. I do not envy you because, I don't think people truly understand the magnitude of the decisions and like how much goes into the decisions y'all make. So if no one's told you, thank you for what you and all of your colleagues do, because the decisions you make, you know, like we said, it's not everyone's going to like them. Mm-hmm. You know, my mom, she's a big Nick Saban fan, and Nick Saban's quoted saying, if you want to make people happy, sell ice cream.
Sell ice cream.
Right.
But I have an added part of that. Even if you sell ice cream, you make someone mad because you're going to sell out of something.
Yep.
So,
For sure.
Yep.
and I think a lot of people look at surface level sometimes of the decisions that are made, and they go, that's not smart. But when you look at the big picture, they don't realize how influential and how monumental and successful that decision is going to be down the road. So from an educator, thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
It's a game changer for us.
Yeah,
So,
man. Thank you guys for what you do.
So another time machine question. If you can go back to a time where you were the most impressionable, you could go back and see yourself and talk to yourself. Would you, one, tell that impressionable, young or whatever time frame Brandon Brooks, who you are, and what kind of knowledge bomb would you drop on impressionable you?
I would definitely go back to elementary school because I think that would be the foundational building block of, future education opportunities. Mm-hmm. But I would go back to the young Brandon in elementary school and try to drive home. I know this is very difficult to implement, easy to say, but try to drive home that knowledge is power. Mm. So it's not just about learning things to take a test. It's about learning for understanding. Mm. So, yeah, we can cram and we can learn whatever that is, whether it's history or math or science. We can learn what we need to put in our short-term memory bank to pass a test or to exceed and do well on a test. Mm-hmm. But it's something altogether different to learn that material for understanding. Mm. And again, just practicality. I know a lot of guys who are in business who enjoy working with their hands. Right. Man, they'll get out there and work 14 hours a day, no big deal.
Yep.
But they know nothing about running a business. Mm. So they can do the work.
Yeah.
But the taxes, the deductions,
all
the setting money aside, the prepping for the downtime, what that account looks like. Hey, I need to make so much money to offset expenses, to offset cost.
Yep.
It's the mental side of business that a lot of business owners fail because they don't understand. Yep. Hey, man, you may be able to make the best fried chicken on the planet. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know when you give that client or that person that comes into your restaurant, if you don't know how much that plate cost you, you're going to be out of business.
Yep.
Okay?
Quick,
That's just one example of 1,000.
Yeah.
So learn for understanding, not just learn for the quick memory, test taking. Learn to understand. And in doing that, you got to be able to listen.
Yep.
Got to.
Yo.
Gotta listen.
He just dropped it audio, just certified audio gold. I love it. So, one last question.
Okay.
And this will wrap us up because I value your time and I know you're busy. So, this is back-to-back times we've had members from ASC hit us with this is it for me, right?
Yeah. So
because I asked Dr. Shoemate the same question and I'm sitting here going like, oh, he just told us he's retiring, so I kind of was like, well, great. So now I got to ask you the question. You finally reached the end of your services school board. Mm-hmm. Looking back at your time as school board, what kind of legacy? So like when people say Mr. Brandon Brooks, what do you hope follows that in terms of your time as school board? Kind of like your Hall of Fame speech, if you will.
I don't even consider it that. I think it doesn't matter what endeavor I'm in. So I'm a pastor. Yep. I'm a mortgage loan officer. That's my day job. Okay. I do loans for people buying houses, refinancing houses, and then I do the school board. Okay. So basically 3 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Pretty busy. You can look at my calendar. My wife gives me a hard time about it. But but all of that, what do I want my legacy to be? Man, please understand, I say this in complete honesty. really don't even want Brandon Brooks' name in a legacy element. To me, for instance, if you say ministry, what this guy said about what happened back then, that's more important than any accolade, business card, amount of money, things on a wall, awards. Those things are fleeting.
Yeah.
That right there, what he said, and just that element about me knocking on a door 30 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the real. That's what is passed on from generation to generation. Not something hanging on my wall, or not something that I've attained that my kids are going to sell in a yard sale when I'm dead.
Yeah. I'll never forget how you made me feel that day when you pulled up on the porch, and I was so eager and ready to go to that church because of you coming to my doorstep. So I totally get what you're saying in that respect.
The goosebumps, man. That's
every time I see him, I tell him. Every time.
That might be hands down one of the most humble responses I've ever heard in my life.
Well, I mean, it's
Bro,
not.
No. That didn't sound. But it's just.
I get it.
It
but
speaks volumes to your character.
Our generation, and I say our, whether you're 53 or 23 or 13, we've got to get away from wanting stuff and accolades. We've got to be able to do the work. I know we're out of time, but can I tell a quick story?
Go for it.
Okay, check this out. This is spiritual. So I heard this story a couple of weeks ago about this guy. He was in prison.
Yeah.
And this guy was in prison, and he got in trouble, and he was disciplined by having to clean up the bathrooms and clean up the toilets and the outhouse. Okay? So because of discipline, because he did something he wasn't supposed to do, he was given latrine duty.
Yeah.
In that latrine duty, he found this little pocket New Testament, okay, among a bunch of other stuff. And
Worse than what you saw.
I'm being careful. Yeah. So he found this New Testament, and it was trashed, like it was terrible. Some of the pages were missing. Long story short, this guy is introduced through that little Bible, that tiny Bible. He's introduced to a God, the God, a higher power.
Yeah.
He transforms the entire prison because of that one little element. Okay? Cool story, huh?
Yeah.
All right? Now, just say this and we can fade on out with the media blitz.
I love it.
That story is wonderful, but nobody's willing to clean up the crap to get there. Can I say? I probably shouldn't say that.
No, no. Look,
you need it.
Okay, so everybody wants the accolades. Everybody wants the stuff. Everybody wants their names up in lights, or their 12,000, or they're an influencer, or their followers, or their, the latest and greatest to make people think you're something that you're not. At the end of the day, everybody wants all that stuff, but nobody's willing to put in the work to get there. We got to build a generation that's willing to just go to work. Pete Wiggins, his famous words that will be inscribed somewhere on this campus is, we pick up our lunch pail and we go to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nobody's willing to go to work. And we got to build a generation and an excitement in young people, and may I say some adults. Let's go to work, man.
Embrace the grind, baby.
There's stuff to do. There's things to accomplish. It's not about you, but you got to go to work to get there.
Ladies and gentlemen, I ain't got nothing to follow up on that one. Brother Brooks, it's been an absolute pleasure. Look, you got an open invite. You got an open invite. Anytime you want to drop in and drop some audio gold on us, brother, you are welcome anytime you want.
Been a joy, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Go Cavaliers.
Go Cavs. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to another close of the PLC meeting. Make sure you sign the paper on your way out. When we come in your classrooms, we better see it in work. Peace out, everybody.